John Busbee with a Culture Buzz. I have got a room full of talent here. Well, Abe Goldstien is here too.
Right, and then the room full of talent.
But I'm bummed. I'm sorry, Abe. I had to do that with you, man.
That's
I'm sorry.
fine. I would have done it if you didn't.
You know, once a year, there's a great recognition event, and this is the kind of event you need to immerse yourself in, folks, because historically, Central Iowa's had an incredible jazz scene, and it continues to have a great jazz scene. And we have some Hall of Fame honorees in the studio here, and I'm going to let Abe do the introducing, and then we're going to get these guys talking a little bit, because they do so much more than just sit here and look like iconic figures in the world of jazz, and we're going to find out what that's about.
So while every city, has its jazz heroes, and Des Moines no exception, for the past 19 years, I think, the Community Jazz Center of Greater Des Moines has hosted a Jazz Hall of Fame, where we honor those musicians who could be playing in any city in the world, but for some reason they have decided to share their wonderful skills with us right here in Des Moines. So we'd like to recognize them for contributing to the vitality of Des Moines' cultural scene in the jazz community. And we host this event, give them an award, give them an opportunity to play. And in addition to, we have Wayne Page, who's an educator and saxophonist, and PETE SIMONSON, who I guess you teach too, don't you, Pete? Mm-hmm. So educator and drummer with us in the studio. They'll be the, I think, 48th and 49th, or 49th and 50th people inducted into this Hall of Fame. And they've played probably with, I'd say, 80% of the people that are in the Hall of Fame they've played with. And in addition to those two, we give some recognition to some players on the scene that deserve some recognition, as well as to a student that's been coming to our jam sessions, and kind of an up-and-coming young jazz musician. So that all happens Sunday, September 22nd at Noche, and there's an award ceremony, there's music from everyone, and that's what we're here for.
You can go to nochedsm.com.
Yeah, you can just
get
order
information, order tickets there.
Order tickets directly there.
This is a neat event on so many levels, because there is a strong history, but it all kind of coalesces on this one annual event. And you two guys are part of this legacy. I mean, you're both kind of subtle and shy about this, but the entire jazz community here in Greater Des Moines, it's kind of like a giant family. But this one time a year, it's like the family says, open the doors.
Family.
Anyone can be part of this family. And that's what you do. You really like to invite the public in to see the celebration stuff. And what the idea is, we want to get you folks hooked into really starting to figure out how lively this jazz scene is. It doesn't just happen at a celebration once a year. These guys are performing throughout the entire year. There is so much live music going on. I first moved to Des Moines in the late 70s, and going into the 80s, it was kind of a quiet scene in my mind back then. But am I wrong in thinking that the live performance scene with jazz has really been doing some good things here lately?
I think so. I moved to Des Moines in '84, and that's where I first met Susie Miget. And there was a somewhat vibrant scene. It was mostly the club scene. Everybody had 6-night gigs playing top 40. But we got lucky enough to play at Spanky's on Court Avenue in the late 80s, early 90s. We had a 4.5-year run with Susie there. And
Sure.
So there's a lot of music going on then. Julio's had a lot of stuff on Sundays. And
a lot of Sunday jam sessions at that time. Manos.
Well, that's when I first
Green
moved here, was
Jeans.
Manos. Yeah. And we had a 4 or 5 night gig there. And then Maryland sold the place. Yeah. And they didn't want jazz anymore.
But Pete, you were talking about a 4-year gig.
4.5 years.
4.5 years. Wayne's played with the band that's had a 50-year gig. Is it 50?
Des Moines Big Band's going into its 60th season.
Oh my God.
And you've been playing saxophone with
on and off. I've got at least 20 years invested in it. So, yeah, there's quite a legacy. And maybe I'm a little biased because I'm getting to play a lot of music at Noche right now, but Max Wellman is really keeping the music alive. hiring lots of acts all week long. And it only takes one club to get going and the musicians get busy and everybody else starts to feed off of that. And
exactly.
It's a great club.
I left for Michigan in 2007 and there wasn't much going on. And when I came back a year ago, I was just blown away. Noche, the stuff I do with Tina Haas there, for instance, in Brandon, and lots of people. It's just.
And you've played with the Java Jews, don't forget.
I did. 'Cause, I wanted to say.
He was saving that for later.
He said two great talents in Abe. Well, I played. Oh, shut up. I played with Abe at the Wesley. What was it? Wesley Acres picnic, and I brought home a little box lunch and a coloring book about this big that they give us. And so Abe counts himself short, but he plays a very nice accordion.
I'm waiting for the accordion Hall of Fame.
Well, he plays a very nice accordion, as I said. He just bought a new one.
He doesn't play it nicely.
The old one's
All right,
terrible.
Enough.
So anyway.
But I've got to ask you guys, there's a poster, and I'll make a new one, and it has photos of all the inductees, and then at the end of it, there's your picture, Wayne, and your Pete.
Wow.
How does it feel that you're in this group of people like
it's very
Bobby? I mean, everyone's.
It's very humbling. I mean, as a saxophonist, here's Wayne Lage,
Right.
who's in, and any of us of any age in the area that played saxophone were taught how to play in a section in a big band by him. Right. And we all have at least one or two stories when Wayne just cut us to ribbons. We had it coming. But I mean, I'll never forget the first time I got to sub on a rehearsal with Des Moines Big Band. I was so excited. Just got to college at Drake. And I was playing so loud because I was fired up. We got done with the end of the tune, and he looked at me and said, "What the are you doing?" And I took notice that it was another year and a half or so before I got to try to play in the band again. But we all really did learn. And I know in my teaching, when I'm teaching big band, how I treat section playing and how to balance a group, it still goes back to what I learned from Wayne Lage,
So and again, that's Wayne Page. In addition to playing, he's a teacher out at Waukee. So
let's touch on the education stuff, because one thing I've noticed that separates, I think, the jazz musicians and the jazz scene here in Central Iowa is that you have a very strong sense of carrying the baton for the genre of music. You're educators, you are encouraging the next generations to become engaged and involved, but there's a continuum that I don't see in like the rock and roll scene or the heavy metal scene or anything like that, right?
Yeah, there's a history, I guess.
Well, there's jazz camps, there's...
Well, just jam sessions.
Pete and I played a lot of stuff. Pete did a lot with the jam sessions with CJC over the years.
Yeah,
still is.
Yep, and back on it. How do you address that? As far as education, I mean, Iowa's one of the rare places that all the jazz bands get together at the end of the year for a competition.
Right.
And that's a rare thing. And
I think it's promoted in the state of Iowa.
Yeah.
As far as even the small schools, about as strongly as any state in the country.
Yeah. Well, the student winning the student award this year is a piano player from Roland Story City.
Nice.
And I asked her, how many other jazz musicians came from Roland or Story City?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I heard it was like Red Oak or some little town, and this kid, big kid, but he played like Dick Spinnerback. Totally. And so you don't know what to expect.
Yeah. So we have a lot to be proud of in Iowa,
That's
and
great.
Especially in Des Moines, where there's musicians like Wayne and Pete, who I said before. I mean, either of these guys could be playing in any market they choose to play in.
It's true. It's an incredible scene here. This annual celebration, this induction celebration, is a great way to meet everyone when they gather in one place and really educate yourself about what is going on throughout the city, throughout the year. Because you mentioned, like big band, they're always they've got certain things going on each month. You can see the next generation, they're kind of learning their chops. The people that come on a regular basis, they are watching these young musicians grow in talent and scope. And quite honestly, I'm watching the the older dogs that are teaching them smile bigger and bigger when these young ones are really catching on, right?
One component of that, Des Moines Big Band season starts here beginning of next month.
Right.
And we play every Wednesday at Noche. And throughout the year, we have 50 to 60 different high schools or colleges come play on our break. And they play a full set on our break. So that's one more way they bring their students to hear us. And then we get to listen to them, and then their parents are there also to take part in the whole thing. So that's just one more level of that education piece.
It's really neat, and it is great fun. I know that Abe's going to comment a little more about this, but this induction into the Jazz Hall of Fame, that is an incredible accomplishment and recognition by peers and what I will call the Iowa jazz industry. Congratulations to you two to join this pantheon of greats, because I know that I'm watching your face and going, well, shucks, I'm just doing my thing. But there are so many people that look up to what you have laid down in your careers and how you've really kind of lived by example and shown them what can happen by the passion that you continue feeding that fire, right?
Mm-hmm. So in addition to Wayne and Pete, who will be in the Hall of Fame, we'll give special recognition awards to trumpet player Dave Williams, who's been part of the CJC Big Band forever and ever, I think. We'll give a certificate to saxophonist and educator Jim Romaine from Drake University, who plays in the big band. Does he play all the time or just...
Well, he's so busy playing St. Louis, Minneapolis, wherever else, that he's not there once in a while.
All right. And also recognition to the NOLA Jazz Band. And then we also recognize someone who doesn't have gray hair or bald, someone under the age of 30. And that will be drummer Nick Adalia, who teaches in Indianola, but he helps us out with the jam sessions and plays with, again, he subs for the big band, he told me from time to time. And then the student that we'll honor this year, as I said, is a keyboard player by the name of Elena Ringsby, who is from Story Roland City, and she just graduated and heading off to do jazz studies at UNI.
Fantastic. But, toss that on your calendar, folks. Yeah. It is Sunday, September 22nd. 5 p.m. is when the whole thing starts. Goes to about 8 o'clock or so, so it's an early evening. And I think they're doing that for the people who are being inducted and the people like Abe and me. Yeah. But no, it's because they have a school day the next day. That's what's happening. Right. That's the truth. Go to nochedsm.com for all the information. In fact, that calendar is filled with enticing evenings of jazz throughout the year. But make sure you kind of take your first immersion if you're just kind of learning about the jazz scene in Greater Des Moines and Central Iowa by going to the CJC Hall of Fame Awards on September 22nd, starting at 5 o'clock. It's going to be a great evening. Got great
and these Hall of Fame winners will even talk to you. They won't snub you. They won't act like prima donnas.
They don't have their people getting in the way.
Yeah, their people they won't have bodyguards.
I'll bring the Sharpies if you start signing body parts. So.
Right.
Well, that drew a wide-eyed look.
Right.
Folks, it's a great music scene here in the world of jazz in Central Iowa and Greater Des Moines. And we have two of the best here in Pete Simonson and Wayne Page. Abe Goldstien does a great job of shepherding so much of this stuff. And yes, the good-hearted guy will take ribbing about his masterful accordion playing all the time. In the meantime, folks, get there Sunday,
I came in
September
5th out of
22nd.
4 at the Iowa State Fair accordion contest. Isn't that good fun?
Yeah. Gentlemen, thank you so much. Congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you.